Hello, my name's Sean Brown from WiSen Innovation, and in this WiSen Quick Guide video series, I'm going to show you how to define warning levels within the web portal. Okay, we're going to go into this training project, which happens to be set up for railway use. We enter the project, and the first thing we're landing on here is the node tab, and we can see here these are the nodes that are active and in use on this project. If we go to setup and we go to railway model, which is the virtual node type that's being used, then we can see on this screen that what's being defined are two railway lines, one called CP1, one called CP2, and the outputs that have been tick selected are cant relative and twist relative. Now, the more items that you tick, the more virtual nodes that you're creating. So virtual nodes are the names that you see here: cant relative, cant absolute, twist relative, and so forth. So depending on what your requirements are on your project, then obviously tick what the outputs are that you desire. Okay, so if we now go back to data show table, then because obviously I've created that railway model previously and I click on virtual node, we can see these are the output tables that are used potentially in the reports that are generated, but also in the web platform, so the data is there for client use. Now, if you've been given some threshold levels, so for railways in the UK, they would typically come from Network Rail or your track monitoring plan. And to set them up within the web portal, we go to Setup, Warning, and we land on this page. Now, to run through this page quite quickly, first thing to note, we're just going to run along the top row, is that if you're defining your email addresses that are going to yourself or your clients, then obviously enter the email addresses and press and. By default, you'll see that it will tick select everything you see on the screen. Just then untick those that you do not desire for yourself or your client. For example, they may not require a statistics email every 24 hours. They may not be interested in recovery emails or if the node's offline, for example. So typically the surveyor responsible for the project would have everything ticked. For the client aspect, they may only be interested in the warning thresholds. We can also do SMS setting, just so we're clear that that option is there. If you've got warning levels which are beyond the amber and the red, then obviously make sure before you go any further here that you select the green and the black if desired. Then we move along to the actual advanced warning rules. So this is a little bit of a clever way of working in terms of if you're likely to get any false readings due to a train pass, where a vibration might give a false cant value and then it recovers, then you might want to make sure that you set the alerts to be informing you if they occur twice in succession. So if it occurs once, you obviously won't get that alert by setting 2. If it occurs twice in succession, you will then get that alert. So it's quite a clever way of sort of mitigating and controlling the warning alerts which you deem to be false. And you can obviously define that to be anything you see on the screen, same with the red. And then in the event of a amber or a red, what do you want the reading interval to become? Then obviously on the screen at the moment is defaulting to 15 and 5. You can obviously define anything you desire as you see in this list here. And we press cancel. Now in terms of setting up the warnings, so the key things for me really are ensuring that the node is on. We're not going to have a power related issue. So the first thing to do is note that the category always defaults to here, which is the node. This has got nothing to do with the virtual node, which is associated with the railway model, and the railway model outputting the cant relative, the twist relative, etc. This is just purely the raw kind of data that's coming off the node, and we're going to use this one here by having node selected, go into setting, and I think the ones that I normally set on projects, you can see on the left-hand side of the models. So we've got the gateway, the tilt meters, we've got some laser nodes, we've got a camera on this project, as an example. The key thing for me is just making sure the node's online. So if we press this little multi-formatting button, as opposed to the plus button, which lets you do it individually, this will let you do them all together. We see on the screen that we've got the battery voltage levels that we're concerned about, and the thing they're not doing at the moment is emailing and informing you. So obviously if we press yes, this will then generate an email to yourself in the eventuality it goes above or below 3.8 or below 2.8. The red isn't set because it's just the battery voltage. And the other thing that we're interested in is if the node was to be offline for, say, any longer than 4 hours, then again, log it, send me an email. And you see, as I populate these boxes in A, B1 has been tick selected automatically, which is what we want it to do. And then the last thing to do, obviously, is select all the nodes that you're interested in for that to be set on, and we press confirm. We have a second pop-up, which is just another pop-up of confirms, and we press go to. Now, the thing to remember is, even though you've set it here, we've not finally set it, because the last thing to do is to ensure you press save config. So, for example, I might be wanting to go to the gateway now. I press this button. I want to do the same process from the battery side. And again, I'm interested to know if the gateway was offline for more than 12 hours. And we tick the gateway and I press confirm and save config. Once I've set everything on this screen, then ensure you press save here. We have a final pop-up of changes and we press complete and we've finished that aspect. If you've got virtual nodes, so they are those sort of trigger values you would get from Network Rail, then you need to make sure you go to category and virtual node. I'll just minimize this. So typically you would land on the page as you see here. You can see we've got those two railway lines I showed you earlier. Both have got count relative, both have got twist relative. If I'm looking to do them individually, for example, I've got varying different threshold levels for each node individually. Very rare, so I would say that wouldn't be the case, but you do have the ability through setting to come in here and manually type in the values for each individual node. Quite time consuming, and I'd recommend you not doing that. Instead, if we minimize this and we just use the little multi-formatting button, and we come into here and we've got those thresholds in front of us, and for example we know them to be -10 to -15, 10 to 15. We want that to actually be an active threshold, so log active. Email, yes, I want that to be sent as an email. And what do I want it to do if we hit an amber threshold? Well, do you want the reading interval to increase automatically? Yes or no? We say yes. You don't have a camera, for example, then obviously you would say no. If you have a red alert, so that would typically be 15 to infinity, for example, or 15 to a black level. You obviously don't have to set an upper threshold if you don't have one. So, for example, you could have -15 to 15, or if there's a threshold of a sensible threshold you want to set regardless, then obviously you can type a value in. Leave the offline aspect because that's the actual calculation being offline. That is not the node being offline. You can see again the boxes have been populated. We're interested in applying this to all the nodes, so we tick this button. Now note, if you're working on multiple projects in the future and these are the common threshold values for cant relative or twist absolute, etc., then you've got the ability to save as shared. Then in a future project, when you come to this same little pop-up box, instead of manually populating like I've just showed you, you would import the cant relative or the twist absolute or the twist relative, etc., as a button press from your user perspective. So you don't have to manually type this in again. We press confirm. We see the changes that we're about to apply. And just remember that the last thing you need to do is obviously ensure you press save and complete. But basically, we're repeating that process for all the railway lines for the virtual nodes that you're interested in. Make sure then you're populating everything you see here for your email addresses and everything else you want to do. And then you're away. So hopefully that concludes the video for how you would set up warning thresholds within the WiSen web portal.